Hello and welcome to another episode of Growing Up B2B. I'm your host, Ed Delia. I'm the second generation president of Delia Associates, the place where family B2B brands go to grow. Today's guest brings a slightly different flavor to the show, both literally and figuratively. I'm joined by Michael Rose, co-founder of Cane Garden Rum Punch, a ready-to-drink cocktail brand inspired by the flavors and traditions of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. What started as a family recipe served at celebrations and gatherings has evolved into a young beverage company built by family. Michael co-founded the business with his brother and two cousins, along with a close family friend who they consider part of the family as well. Each of them has an operating role in the company and an ownership stake. In just a short period of time, they've gone from making rum punch for family events to building distributor relationships and establishing a presence in retail and hospitality accounts throughout the region. No stranger to entrepreneurship, Michael first built his career as a founder of two tech talent ventures, most recently Firmevo, before launching Cane Garden Rum Punch. Michael's story is about entrepreneurship, family collaboration, culture, and the realities of bringing a consumer product to the marketplace. Michael, welcome to Growing Up B2B.
Thank you very much, Ed, for that very warm and flowing introduction. Great to be on B2B with you, and happy to be here.
Awesome. So let's start at the beginning with the origins. So Cane Garden Rum Punch began as a family recipe. What made it so popular at your family gatherings?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I'd have to say, Ed, that it really boiled down to some really core essential qualities: taste, authenticity, balance. It's not too strong, and at the same time, it's not too weak. The aroma, and I think the memories that elicited, for a lot of individuals. If you had Caribbean roots, you probably remembered having some kind of punch like this back in your days growing up in the West Indies. If you took a vacation, and we get this a lot, it takes you right back to that cruise or to that rum runner event, or just that time on the beach. So I think
Awesome.
those are the key qualities. Yeah.
That's cool. At what point then did you and the other family members who got involved with this say, "Hey, this might be something more than we do for fun. This might actually be a business"?
Yeah, I think it was when the groundswell of event orders started coming in. They kind of come as, "Hey, my friend's getting married, or we're having a graduation, and can you make me a batch? Can you make me a batch?" And before you knew it, the interest was not just from family and friends, but from other folks who had the product at a family or friend event.
Wow.
Then we start, and this goes back probably pre-COVID, that we
Hmm.
really started thinking about it, but didn't get more serious about exploring it until we got into COVID.
Wow. So very much getting, as we would say, pulled into the market.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yes, yes.
So, so you've been making it for a while, but the company officially launched, say, about a year and a half ago.
Mhm.
Um, what were the first steps you had to figure out to turn this from kind of a hobby, a family drink, into more of a commercialized product?
Yeah. Ed, we took our time. We focused heavily on research.
Hmm.
Nobody in the family has experience within the beverage industry. At least not the immediate family. I can talk a little bit more about kind of our legacy going back a bit, but so we really wanted to understand the process. We
Hmm.
really wanted to understand the market and the supply chain, the risks that were at hand in a business like this. What were the regulatory requirements, and
Hmm.
how, really and truly, how do we start off with, say, just a micro batch, a micro scale, and explore and go from there. So
Mm.
those were the things that we were really focused on. But heavy research, a lot of talking to people to get some understanding of how the business worked.
Awesome. And important work too, because a lot of people out there dream about starting a brand, albeit a beverage brand or other.
Mhm.
But just by virtue of talking a little bit about that, thinking about a process, the reality is it's complicated, right?
That's
It's a
right.
complicated process. There's many pieces, there's many points of consideration. As you look back, what would you say surprised you most about going through that process?
Yeah. It's kind of a surprise, and then again, somewhat no surprise at all, or at least I don't know why I'm surprised. It was the length of time for licensing if you were going that route initially. Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, every state is different. We're based in the state of New Jersey, and it's about a 2 year process
Oh, wow.
to get, say, any kind of, whether you're going for a distillery license or you're going for a blender's license or just a distributor license, that lead time was quite long.
Hmm.
And one of the things we were kind of thinking was, do we want to really kind of jump in to that end of the business if we're not sure if this is really going to be a viable product? But yeah, that was pretty surprising that it would take that long to bring for the licensing actually to fully take place.
Is the reason for that time horizon just the process and steps to get there are long, or is it to ultimately gain approval takes time? Like,
Ultimately, getting the approval takes time, and
okay,
everybody's involved.
okay.
The lawyers are involved, the regulatory folks are involved. You really have to have your facilities already up and not necessarily running, but established.
Hmm.
So there's a lot of upfront carrying costs if you're looking to go that route
Hmm.
um, before you can actually get the full license.
I
So
see.
and
Okay.
of course there's a queue. There's a
Yeah,
lot of people in line ahead of you for this type of license.
I
Yeah.
see. I see. Um, so getting back to the family dynamic, your founding team is essentially a family team. It's
That's
you,
right.
your brother Adrian,
That's right.
your two cousins, Sieta and Mandisa. They're all shareholders as well as operators. When you were getting this formed, how did you all decide who would take on which roles?
Yeah. So, first and foremost, understand that for all of us, this is a plus one business, right? So, I run Primevo. That's my main priority and my main focus.
Hmm.
And this is the business that I've started basically to support my family in this endeavor.
Hmm.
Having years and years of experience working with startup companies or with mid-market firms in terms of getting operations off the ground. Now I get to bring this expertise to the family operation.
Hmm.
And what we did was we actually used, I don't know if you're familiar with EOS.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I've really run all of my businesses on the EOS model, since
Okay.
first learning about it. And I would say within Cane Garden, we run an EOS light. We've got our accountability chart. We basically have our GWC meetings, and everybody has their role. Um, and thankfully, we've gotten to a point where we're hitting a rhythm. Everybody kind of stays in their lane.
And for those of our listeners not familiar with EOS vernacular, EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating
Yes.
System, and
Yes.
GWC stands for Get It,
Gets it,
Want It,
wants it, yep, and has the
Capacity to Do It.
capacity to do it. Yeah,
Yep. And
yeah.
that's the basis for which an accountability chart, which is, I guess, the EOS version of an org
Work
chart,
charge. Yeah,
um, is derived and determined in terms
right.
of another RPRS, right? People, right? Seats is another EOSism.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. When you read these books like Good to Great, I mean, they're great narratives and great stories about success. But what EOS helps you do is to bring a lot of those um, success factors, down to scale for a small business.
Hmm.
And so we were able to kind of apply a lot of the different, core functions or core uses to our business here.
So, and it's certainly through this show, through our own experience working with numerous family governed organizations, the family business model works best when those responsibilities are clearly defined.
Yes.
It sounds like you and your team are using the EOS modeling to do that. But I always have to ask, you were family first and now business partners. So how do you how do you manage to kind of keep the relationships healthy? Do you all have any rules about when it's okay or not okay to talk about the business, or is it fluid in your situation? How do you make sure that everybody's, those family relationships are protected and
Yeah.
safeguarded while the business is moving forward and scaling?
Yeah, lots of pillow fights and snowball fights in the winter, and we duke it out. No, I think that just like any other organization, even if you're non-family, there's that forming and norming period, right?
Hmm.
And initially, what we tried to do was spend a lot of time ensuring that everybody was on the same page with regards to the long-term vision, with regards to the steps that we were taking to scale. And then it respects to, I think, the unique talents that everybody brought to the table, even
Hmm.
before we started to really apply the EOS accountability chart and what have you.
Hmm.
But, needless to say, issues arise. And, we would basically really just get on a call, work things out, talk through it. And I think that we stepped on a lot of toes. There was a lot of crossing lines initially, but now we're getting to a point where we see each other as consults, right? We
Hmm.
know how to engage the right person for which role and how to hand off when it's not the right task for us.
Hmm. So, add to the four family members, there's a fifth member involved, Andre, who is a
Yeah.
close family friend. You've referred to him as someone he feels like family, but he's not. So, part of me wants to ask, is he the tiebreaker?
Yeah, he is. He really is. He really is. I've known Andre for more than 25 years. So you
Okay.
go you go way back and know him from my IT services world. And he is often the voice of reason, when we really start getting into heated discussions. He's a seasoned corporate executive. He's really masterful at getting at the heart of an issue and helping us navigate towards either a solution or in some cases a compromise. I feel for him, but he's a great essential oil to how we run the operation.
And it's not uncommon
Mhm.
in a family governed business where there's a leadership team. Yeah, you're going to have potentially some family members, maybe more than one or two at the table. You're going to have some non-family members at the table. So, um, put a little more, definition on um, that role that he plays as the non-family member. Is he, for instance, is he free to speak,
Oh
as
yeah,
as one, and he will put it out there, and
absolutely,
okay.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, I think decorum is always still kept within our discussions. It doesn't
Mhm.
it doesn't get insultive or anything along those lines, but it will get heated. And I believe and I think that's good. That's actually how you get to the heart of a matter. What Andre does is helps to lower the temperature.
Mhm.
It's funny, when you get into these situations where you have the family dynamic, everybody thinks that they've got the upper position, right? I'm the oldest of everybody on the team. And that used to work as folks deferring to me back in the day, but not anymore. And when Andre speaks and his voice comes into a discussion or a matter, we will often kind of just pause, self-assess, and listen. So
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And it's not because of any, hierarchical status or anything like that. It's just, all right, we're listening to another voice of reason here.
And sometimes, it's very interesting, especially when you have a family relationship and a business relationship, that outside voice, you know, um, sometimes he might say the same thing you've said 10 times
Oh
over,
yeah,
but because it came from Andre and not
that's right.
Michael,
That's
suddenly
right.
it's heard for the first time,
That is it.
and
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
you have to bite your tongue a little and say, I've been saying this for weeks,
Yeah.
but rather, say, well, now it's been heard.
Yeah. Yep.
Very good. Thank
It sounds like you've got a little bit of experience growing up in a B2B business. I don't know.
Oh, just a little, just a little. In fact, I guess to turn the tables on me because in finding out that I overlapped with my sister, who's 16 years my senior. Um, I'm the youngest by 10 years in my family. And they said, well, how did you handle disagreements with your sister? I said, very respectfully and very carefully,
Very
because
carefully.
basically talking to somebody that functioned as like kind of a young mom growing up, so that's a
Mhm.
very important relationship, very loving relationship. So certainly gonna treat that with extra special care because she's an amazing woman and I love her dearly. So
Yeah, that's
yeah.
beautiful. Yeah,
Um,
as you I think may know, my brother and I, it's just the two of us,
mhm,
two cousins, just the two of them. So you've
mhm.
got two sibling household dynamics, and it's interesting that although in both cases we grew up under the same parents in the same household, we can all think differently.
For sure, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. We see that a lot.
yeah.
So, bringing it back to the business, certainly one of the big hurdles in beverage, especially launching a new beverage brand, is opening up distribution channels. So, as a brand owner, you've been responsible for developing retail as well as some on-premise relationships. So, talk about that. What's that learning curve been like in that journey, if you would?
Oh yeah. Distribution is an ever evolving endeavor. Just when you think you may have it all figured out, you know, there's a new twitch, a new switch that you've got to consider. And as brand owners, we've come to realize that, although we own the brand, from a supply chain relationship standpoint, that path is not linear, right? Really and truly, we've got to be engaged in campaigns and promotions, in the point of sale relationships, the whole nine. And a lot of what helps to drive the brand and get it into the customer's hands and off the shelf, that tends to be our brainchild, right?
Hmm.
Now we've got field staff that will do things like our tastings and do our events and what have you. But owner representation within the supply chain,
Hmm.
the distribution chain is really critical.
So, more at I guess point of engagement. When you walk into a bar, a restaurant, a liquor store, or some other venue or on-premise venue to introduce the brand, what seems to be the story that resonates most with a potential buyer or adopter of the brand?
Uh, you know, um, it all depends on who you're speaking to, but I would say the key narratives that really resonate overall are the fact that we're family owned, the fact that we are authentically Caribbean,
Hmm.
right? In terms of our roots and in terms of our branding and everything, and that we're U.S. bottled. Our bottling facility is right here in Pennsylvania. So
Okay.
when you combine all those things, it's like the um, quintessential, up from the roots immigrant product brand story.
Hmm.
We've brought with us into this product the best of what St. Vincent and the Grenadines has to offer, and we can trace our connection to this product all the way back pretty much a couple generations, but
Hmm.
it's produced right here in the United States.
That's awesome. So, how do you go about enunciating? Because that's really, it sounds like a quintessential component of the brand. It's rooted in the culture and flavors of St. Vincent, the Grenadines. Um, how do you go about really enunciating that point as a unique attribute for this particular beverage product?
Yeah, so I mean staying true to that connection is absolutely essential for us, right?
Hmm.
It's not just essential to the marketplace, but to us as family-owned individuals. We hold true to our cultural and our entrepreneurial identity. When I talk about our legacy, my Uncle Sky, my Uncle Raymond, my Auntie Annette, even Andre's mom, all have entrepreneurial spirit within them, right, in entrepreneurial endeavors, but in particular within my family, this whole process of creating cocktails, whether
Mhm.
we, back in the Caribbean, we call it, there's an activity we call liming, right? Liming is just socializing, hanging out.
Okay.
And the custom was you'd be producing, if somebody would be making some kind of drink for the event, whether it was a lime squash, June plum juice, sour sap punch, rum punch, pina colada. My father's a masterful pina colada maker. All
Okay.
of this is infused in us, and we bring this all to the forefront in our narrative and our storytelling.
And it's such a um, rich backstory, from end to end, even how, the company evolved from, we were just doing this, it's a family thing, for gatherings and
Yeah,
celebrations. And then we start getting phone calls and saying, "Hey, can you do it for here and here?" And just the way that it evolved is just a beautiful story, and full of authenticity and roots and going back to, the origins. So it's
yeah,
a
yeah.
great backstory.
And I'll say that, throughout the Caribbean, you know, people may have roles or jobs, positions within government or, working for somebody else, but everybody has a business as well. Just about anybody you talk to will be either they're selling some kind of cakes or they're, something along the lines that there's an entrepreneurial component
Hmm.
to the family life. And, I mentioned my Uncle Raymond either. He actually imported things like that night 19 rum and these other products into St. Vincent from other surrounding islands. So he had those trade licenses to bring these products into the country. We were
Interesting.
we were exposed to that kind of entrepreneurial stuff all way earlier on when we were kids.
Yes, that's something that a theme that most certainly comes up and resonates, with our listenership, with our guests, is that um, how formative those early exposures were
Yeah, yeah,
to, and just by observation, not even realizing it when you were young. But
yeah.
that's just kind of, I was talking with one guest and um, he's like, well, starting businesses are just, that's what my family does. So it was like, everybody does that, so that's what I'll do. It was kind of a given. Like,
Exactly.
yeah, I'm going to go
Yeah,
start a business. That's what we
yeah,
do.
yeah. You
Okay.
know how to do this.
That's what he was exposed to growing up,
That's
and
right.
that's what the path was.
That's right.
So it's very interesting how those early formative years. I think sometimes we take for granted how much we've observed and learned
That's right.
before we even get out of the gate. So
Sorry.
in the early days, of any startup,
Mhm.
there's wins, there's mistakes.
Mm.
Um, when you look back so far in the journey so far, Michael, what's something, a decision here, hey, I'm really glad we made that call. And then maybe one, if you could hit the rewind button, you'd say, I wish we did that a little different.
Yeah. Yeah. So a big win really was our co-packing relationship with our co-packer in Pennsylvania.
Mhm.
We got introduced to them, I think, around 2021.
Okay.
Didn't engage until 2023, but we're talking to him for 2 years.
Hmm.
And I mean, I just can't say enough about this team because they 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 could have charged us a consulting fee for all the times we probably called and asked questions and stuff like that, but they didn't. They were just with us for the journey, happy to share information. So and the fact that they were able to help us with doing that small batch and the approach to
Mm.
it was just essential. What I would do over is as much as I've lamented about how long and kind of drawn out the New Jersey licensing process is, probably would have taken a step in that direction at that time, taking it slow.
Hmm.
Because in hindsight, by now, 2 years on, we would have had the license.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
And um, it's very interesting that you were, and it sounds like you were really able to find the right partner in the co-packer because
Yeah,
um, knowing a bit about that side of the business, a lot of them are reticent to take on a startup entity.
yeah,
They're like,
yeah,
well, come back to me when you need, 1 million units. It's like,
yeah.
well, what about now? Um, even if you've got traction in the market, sometimes some won't even give you the time of day, and you're like,
That's
well,
right.
we've got a foothold, we're growing, we need to,
Right.
expand. And so the fact that you were, it sounds like you got a great partner there in that they were willing to, walk the mile with you, and
Absolutely.
get you out of the gate and recognize. And it sounds like you probably have a shared vision. They have a vision of where this is going. You have a vision of where this is going, and there's great alignment there. So I hope
Yeah.
that relationship continues to serve both parties well.
Thank you. As long as they'll have us, you know.
um, so as the business continues to grow, how do you think about scaling this family company while making sure that you're preserving the spirit that made the product special in the first place?
Yeah, great question. We're very intentional about this as an ongoing effort.
Hmm.
We're really starting to narrow our niche, um, collecting as much brand, um, collecting as much market data as we can, and starting to focus on, okay, where are the regions where we can have the most impact, right?
Hmm.
We're starting to realize that metropolitan areas, right? You come into this with the thinking that, oh, the market is X, right?
Right.
Vacationers, beach life, the shore season, what have you. And then you come to realize, wow, in areas like, you know, uh, um, I guess one of the newest markets we've moved into, the beach community in New York, or even in Long Island, you almost have a 360 year-round engagement or interest in the product. Some people
Really
they think to themselves, "Oh, rum punch, it's a summer drink." No, in Canarsie, New York, we did our biggest sales actually at Christmas time.
interesting.
Right. And I'm talking about November through to January. So,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
January is typically in the beverage, in this business, a very slow time.
Yeah.
So, before looking at the areas to really scale and grow, it's where can we concentrate and where can we get the most velocity we're focused on out of the region that we're in, So, and we're not naive about this. We wholeheartedly believe that in order to scale effectively, we're probably going to need, resource support
Hmm.
at some point in
Yeah.
time. So it's really just balancing timing around that.
Hmm.
But yeah,
So it sounds like there's very much a very, as you use your word, deliberate and focused growth, being very methodical, not getting out ahead of the skis, so to speak, but really stay
yeah,
in
yeah.
the
And
lane.
I'll offer this, that, when we first came out the gate, in 2023, within 9 months, we had like 65 locations and, 5 states. And that sounds great, right?
Hmm.
But the fact of the matter is that some of those locations were like one case only.
Oh, okay.
Right. So now you got to say, okay, well, where are we really gaining traction to,
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
coin Gino Wickman's phrase for EOS, right?
Yeah.
And so we were able to ratchet down. So now we are able to achieve the same, if not greater sales volume,
Hmm.
but with less locations. So
Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Um, so you have to ask this because whereas there's definitely a family lineage and exposure to this product, this type of product, to the idea of bringing this product into the world, your background is IT and professional staffing.
yeah.
So what, and this seems to be quite a departure from those lanes, but I would like to ask, were you able to draw any knowledge, insights, or lessons learned from your other business ventures and channel them into this product brand, Cane Garden?
Absolutely. So I have started 3 companies, right, that were more along the professional services side, but still, these are startups, right?
Hmm.
And that takes a particular type of approach and diligence, where you're getting a business off the ground.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, we were in talent and IT, but still, it was professional services, and we were focused on the team, We're focused on the approach and the methodology. We're
Hmm.
focused on quality of the product. We're focused on, who's our target market and value. And so, and then I'm so focused on EOS because, it's about the operating system, right? And how you
Hmm.
run the business. And if you've got
Sure.
the right approach for that, then, I don't want to say you can launch anything, but, almost. So yeah, I was able to bring a lot of my expertise
Hmm.
with regards to all those areas, but also problem solving. I mean, at the end of the day, getting these things up off the ground, you got a plan, but then you run into hurdles and you got to solve the problem.
Hmm.
And part of our core business is again teamwork, getting teams to work together, as well as implementing systems to optimize the business and bring it to market. So,
Awesome. So when you look out ahead, right, as you start to vision and say, where are we going? Where is this going? And maybe it's a 5-year outlook.
mhm.
Talk about what does success look like to you for Cane Garden Rum Punch? What does success look like when you're 5 years out, maybe, or further?
Oh yeah, no, that's definitely. Well, first and foremost, we're in the process of right now of identifying a leader, basically for the business, so we can focus more on being truly the brand owners and the brand um, representatives, but
Hmm.
holders of the culture and the identity of the brand.
Hmm.
But beyond that, what I see 5 years down the road is continued off-prem growth, right? With some really major regional chains like Total Wines, Buy Right. We're in all the Total Wines in New Jersey now, and looking to expand that footprint.
Nice.
I think that's the channel for us, as well as kind of like I think we're a magnificent fit for hospitality
Hmm.
industry, so boutique as well as global chains. And then 5 years from now, I think we would definitely have a really good foundational footprint within event spaces, whether it be the stadiums or whatever the case may be.
Mm.
Yeah,
Excellent.
yeah.
And
The product we present and position Cane Garden products. We've got three now: the Rum Punch, Bourbon Rush, and Tequila Paradise as premium products, but they
hmm
still fit into the ready to drink category.
hmm
And as a 750 milliliter RTD, I mean, it's a cocktail that you shake up and pour.
Yeah.
So the convenience of it, of serving and giving your customer that elevated, cocktail experience
Hmm.
without having to take 5 minutes to make the drink and having to buy, six different ingredients.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what's attractive to most of the organizations that we appeal to.
Nice. Nice. So, this is really an interesting story, and one that I'm sure there are a lot of listeners or other families that are thinking about. And I guess the question I would ask would be, what advice would you give to a family that's out there, maybe, and they're thinking about turning something they love? It might be a recipe, a craft, a tradition, or some other initiative into a real functional business.
Oh, contact Promevo and engage us for consult. I'm just kidding. No, I would tell them what I tell pretty much every budding or beginning entrepreneur. First of all, write it all down.
Hmm.
Once you write it down, see it on paper, kind of say it back to yourself. You get a sense for whether your ideas and your thoughts start to gel. But also talk to everyone.
Hmm.
I mean, as I mentioned, we started talking to people about 2020, and didn't launch until 2023. A lot of that had to do with the fact that we were just getting information, getting insight. Some of the best guidance came from people who you would think would be a competitor to ours, right? But I'm sure Ed, people love to tell their story
Yeah.
and they love to share mistakes, mishaps, and what have you. So I would tell folks, write it all down, do your research, and share your idea. To me, then they always say there's no new ideas, there's just new initiatives, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I can tell that you put a lot of trust and respect into your professional network, your peers, and others that are close to you, colleagues. So, As you were thinking about this, as you were starting to formulate this with your other fellow family members and started to tell people, I'm thinking about doing this.
Mm.
What was the feedback from some of your peers in business?
Oh, I think so it's interesting that you mentioned this. So I'm a member of an advisory group called TAB. I think they had mentioned that to you, the advisory
Mhm.
board. And
Yep.
so I brought this to the TAB organization, 2 years back.
Okay.
And so they were able to take me through some of that, you know, thoughtful rigor around the
Hmm.
tough questions, right? How do you balance,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Between your prime business and this entity, you know, investment and funding, um, questions around strategy, exit,
Hmm.
you go into everything with getting out in mind, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll put a whole lot of stock in the members of our tab board, and I just brought all the discussion really to them. But I think the number one person above all, and I've got my nuclear family, my parents, and everybody. I talk to them, but my wife, if she doesn't bless it, it doesn't happen. You know,
So she gave you the thumbs up. She said, "Go for it." And
yes, yes, yes. There's a CEO and there's a CCEO. There's a chief.
does she have any regrets in giving you that the thumbs up at this stage, a year and a half
I,
later?
you know, I, yeah, probably. Maybe if you ask her, she might say, "Oh, maybe perhaps." I'm fumbling around this answer. I don't know about regrets. Regrets is strong, but
Yeah.
she may have had some other considerations.
Yeah. Yeah. But sometimes it's hard to hold back an idea and a
It
drive,
is.
vision,
It is. It is.
without at least giving it a try, right?
Yeah.
You gotta explore, and certainly, by virtue of what you've already accomplished and what you're accomplishing now, the entrepreneurial spirit is alive and well in you, Michael. That's painfully clear.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My wife gave me a book called Your Next Five Moves. It was when I was in transition from previous venture, exited that, and
Mhm.
looking at next move. And
Yep.
the first chapter is Know Yourself.
Mm.
And it's like you said, entrepreneur at heart. She knows that. She,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of knows who she picked as a partner. I know as well. We complement each other just fantastically. So yeah.
It sounds like it. If she had the thoughtfulness to put that book in your hands at that moment in your life, she clearly knows her partner well.
Fantastic.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, last question. If any of our listeners wanted to connect with you or to learn more about Cane Garden Rum Punch, what's the best way for them to do that?
Oh yeah, I mean, the easiest way is probably social. We're on all the social platforms. I'm all over LinkedIn, as well as for Cane Garden Rum Punch. We are on IG. We're on TikTok. All the platforms. We've also got our Cane Garden Rum Punch website
Okay.
for my consulting services at Permevo.com.
Okay.
And yeah,
Awesome. Awesome.
we are present.
Very good. Well, many great businesses start with something simple, a tradition, a family recipe, or an idea that people keep coming back to. What's inspiring about your story, Michael, is how a drink that began as a family celebration has evolved into a real brand and now a true family enterprise. Michael, thank you for sharing the Cane Garden Rum Punch journey with us. Again, we've been speaking with Michael Rose, co-founder of Cane Garden Rum Punch, and I'm your host, Ed Delia, and this has been another episode of Growing Up B2B. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Michael, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ed. It's been fantastic. I enjoyed the conversation on Growing Up B2B. Thank you.
Thanks again. All right. Hey, thanks so much for tuning into Growing Up B2B. To explore more episodes and insights, visit podcast.delianet.com. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a rating or review on your podcast platform of choice. Having worked with hundreds of family-led businesses across my career, and being a second-generation leader myself, I'm on a mission to help every family business I meet achieve next-level growth for their organization. So feel free also to connect with me on LinkedIn and let's support each other. You can also find out more about my company at delianet.com. Again, I'm your host, Ed Delia, and thanks so much for joining us today. Take care.